The Dallas Cowboys and the city of Oxnard proudly welcome you to training camp. The boys are back for a new season and a championship run.
This is when we build the team right here in Oxnard.
In session, lock in, baby.
Welcome into Special Edition. The Cowboys are through their first full week of training camp in Oxnard, California, and there's already plenty for Rick Goose Goslin, Nate Noon, and myself, Danny Surek, to dive into. This week, the Cowboys made their first roster move of training camp, cutting rookie offensive lineman Larry Allen Jr. and re-signing rookie linebacker Justin Phillips, who was cut after OTAs this year. However, we know the big story of the week is that running back Ezekiel Elliott did not show up to camp and is holding out as he seeks a new contract. What's interesting is there really wasn't any warning of him saying, if I don't have a deal before training camp, I'm not showing up. So, Goose, what was your initial reaction when he didn't show up?
I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, I think he's planted his flag in the ground. This is the time to get your money. If you wait till the end of the contract, he's 26. He'll have probably 600 more carries under his belt, and they'll be less willing to give him the money. I think he's put the flag in the ground. Here's his stand, and I think if he doesn't get the money in camp, I think he holds out.
And he's not the only one. You got the kid from San Diego holding out. These running backs are understanding that you either do it before you're 25 and that franchise tag hit you at 26, 27. You do it then, do it now, because versus then, it's going to be no money for you.
The Cowboys also re-signed running back Alfred Morris, who was with the Cowboys in 2016 and 2017. With that, does that say to you the Cowboys are not confident that they can get a new contract for Elliott before the start of the season?
It's an insurance policy. I think Morris is there in the event they need him for the first 4 games of the season.
Camp body. And Morris know that. He's a veteran guy. He knows where he stands. He's going to compete. He's going to do what he has to do. But he knows that it's all contingent on what they do with Zeke.
Right.
And how will this change the competition? Because we've talked about the competition at wide receivers all offseason with so many young rookies, and now adding Alfred Morris. How does that change the competition for all the rookies that were already fighting for a spot?
Well, on opening day, the starter is going to be Zeke Elliott or Alfred Morris. And the rest of these guys are battling for 2 and 3.
It's just amazing. You talk about Tony Pollard doing the OTAs and all these things, you know, and where does Darius Jackson fit? But Jason Garrett, he likes to have trust. He doesn't have trust with these young guys. Even though he's talked great about Tony Pollard, he does not have the trust. So that's where Alfred Morris comes in at.
There is a lot more to discuss, specifically at running back with everything that's been going on this week, and we will do just that at the debate desk next.
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Salvation Army, doing the most good. And by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. This segment is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. The Texas Lottery proudly supports Texas education and veterans. Play the Texas Lottery today.
Earlier today, I was informed that Zeke's going to Cabo.
It's all business. That's for him to handle. Same mindset. It's not like anything different. It's just more opportunity.
I mean, I know I'm here. You know, we're a team. We're going to be together.
It's a great opportunity for somebody else to show what they can do.
You don't have to have a rushing champion to win a Super Bowl.
Owner Jerry Jones had an interesting soundbite there about running back Ezekiel Elliott, and it was a little misconstrued throughout the media this week. Jones wasn't saying they don't want or need Elliott. He was simply saying that running back Emmitt Smith was the first to be both the rushing champion and Super Bowl champion in the same year, and other teams have been successful without having that. Running back Ezekiel Elliott did not show up to training camp the first week, and they re-signed Alfred Morris, who was Zeke's backup in 2016 and 17, and in those 6 games, he was averaging 4.3 yards per carry. Nate, what strengths does Morris bring to the running back depth?
He's a mistake-free running back. He's a guy that doesn't fumble. If it's 4 yards to get, he'll get 4.1. Is it a 60-yard run? Can he make it? Maybe, but I doubt it. But he's just that security blanket. He's going to show the other guys in the room, the Tony Pollards and the Mike Webbers, hey, this is how you be a professional running back.
And he's going to get you through the first month. I mean, like you said, he's got dependable hands, but he's 30 years old. And the wall for running backs is 30. The good news, he had a 100-yard rushing game against the Rams in his last game last year. So he's still got some juice, or some gas in the tank. So he's there for the first month in the event they need him.
We were talking earlier about how the addition of Morris affects the running backs as a whole. However, for Elliott, who's seeking a new contract, how does this affect him in that process?
Well, I don't think this impacts Elliott at all. I think he's, like I said in the first time, he's planted a flag in the ground. He's going to get his money now. This is his last chance to get a big money contract. He can't wait till he's 26, and I think he's going to play it out. If the contract's not done in camp, he's going to hold out, and that's why Morris is here.
Morris is here, to make sure that they have that trust. But Tony Pollard, Darius Jackson, you guys have to come up and be the big stars. Y'all going to have to prove to Coach Garrett that y'all can do it. This preseason is big for the backup running back. We already was lacking depth there with the lack of carries, only 16 carries between the backs that are there before Morris got there. But now they have a plethora of runs with Morris. But I'm telling you, Pollard, if you want to make an impact, now's the time.
The Cowboys now have 6 running backs on the roster. If Elliott's holdout continues into the start of the season, who do you keep?
Whichever backup running back can tackle. Because when Elliott comes back or Morris, they're not going to see the field. So you need to upgrade your special teams. Again, Weber, Nate was talking about earlier, I still want to see what they like in Darius Jackson. He keeps leaving, they keep bringing him back. There's something there. And I think he's got this month to show it.
I agree, you have to be able to tackle. You always have to be able to pick up third down blitzes, and you're going to have to run to the right hole and know all of your assignments. I think that, hey, it's still about Zeke, and it's still when he gets in. But if once he comes, it's going to come down to Darius Jackson, I think, and Mike Weber. Or maybe Alfred Morris.
The other thing on Pollard, Pollard is not going to be a running back. He's what he is. He's Darren Sproles.
Yes.
He's a guy you want returning kicks, catching passes, not running the football.
Well, we've now heard from Nate and we've heard from Rick about Elliott's holdout. And coming up, we will hear from Cowboys Chief Operating Officer Stephen Jones and his thoughts on Elliott's holdout.
This segment was brought to you by the Texas Lottery. The Texas Lottery proudly supports Texas education and veterans. Play the Texas Lottery today. This segment is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas.
Running back Ezekiel Elliott is in the midst of a holdout as he seeks a new contract and has not showed up to training camp. Our Nick Eatman sat down with Cowboys Chief Operating Officer Stephen Jones on how Elliott's absence is affecting the team.
Thanks so much, Danny. And yes, we are joined as always here by Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. Welcome to California. I'll just get that part out of the way. It's so awesome to be here every time.
Great weather, great to be back. Obviously, the people here at Oxnard are just off the charts, hospitable. The weather couldn't be better. It's just a great day to wake up to every day out here. And of course, we get so much done. The players are focused on getting better rather than surviving heat or surviving the conditions. And, it's just a great way to really get away from what they're used to and get out here and get focused on the upcoming season.
All right, well, I know in the opening press conference you said we'll talk about this once and no more, but hopefully you'll give us one more chance here. Just a little bit without Ezekiel Elliott here, there's been a lot of talk of is it a distraction or not, but it seems like the team is still focused on the guys and the players that are here.
Exactly. I mean, this is a business. We know things happen. When you have really good young football players, and certainly that's a part of it. But I don't think anyone's distracted out here, whether it's the guys who are here who are obviously wanting to take care of the business, or the guys who aren't here. So we are focused on the ones that are, and we are focused on getting better as a football team. And I'm already seeing that happen here. The first 5 days we've been out here, 2 of those days in pads, and already seeing the energy levels that you want to see, and you see the focus from a good young football team of young people wanting to get better.
Now, earlier in the week, you guys brought in a veteran, a familiar face in Alfred Morris. What does that do, the balance of, yes, you still want to see these young guys, but this player can also help because you know what you're getting in Alfred?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the great things about, getting Alfred signed up is we know him so well. He knows us. He knows our coaches. He knows the room, very familiar with the system. And we know him so well in terms of what a team football player is. I mean, he's just the right fit for this room. Obviously, a room full of young guys, especially without Zeke in there. And, the other thing is I don't think he'll take away at all from the progress of these young players, as we'll treat Alfred a lot like we would Zeke. He doesn't need a lot of work in the preseason. We know what he can do. He's a pro, and we're fortunate that he was available so that we could bring him on the team.
And I think there's maybe a misperception that you guys are hitting a panic button or something, but Alfred Morris was a guy you were thinking of even before the draft, wondering to see how the draft would work out. He's a guy you've had on the radar for a while.
Absolutely. He's just one of those guys that came in here a couple years ago and really played well for us. And, spelled Zeke. Obviously, he and McFadden were here together, so they were back and forth a little bit, but he's just a guy who can be very productive in this league. He's more of a first and second down back versus a nickel back. But like I said, we're fortunate to get him, and he's a guy who can be very productive in this system.
All right, well, stay with us here. We're going to talk about some of the other position battles and other things you're trying to accomplish here at training camp. Stephen Jones is with us here. He'll stay with us. We'll throw it back to you guys in the studio.
Coming up, we'll hear more from Stephen Jones on the depth and similarities he sees between this Cowboys team and a dominant 1990s one.
This segment was brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. This segment is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing.
Center Travis Frederick missed all of last season after being diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome. He is back and ready to play and at training camp. And Nick Eatman sat down with Cowboys Chief Operating Officer Stephen Jones on Frederick's return.
Thanks again, guys. And yes, we are still joined by Stephen Jones. And we talked a lot in the first segment about just some of the contract situations that you're dealing with. But stuff on the field, that's where it's really happening here. What are some of the position groups and position battles that you're focused on that here the most?
Well, Will and Jerry and Jason and I were talking, this is maybe a deep young football team as we've had since the 90s. And, there's going to be a lot of position battles going on out there. And, it starts in the defensive line. We brought in, some young guys and Tristan Hill and Jelks and Jackson. And, there's a lot going on there. And, Rod gets the most out of them. So it'll be real interesting to see who comes out of that grouping. And then you look over on the offensive side of the ball where we brought in McGovern, and he's competing against some good vets that that we've had that we hadn't had in the past. When you look at a guy like Cam Fleming, Suafilo, Joe Looney, it's a good group. And so you look at those fronts there, there's a big battle going on there. And then you look at our receivers. It was tough for us to have to let go of Hearns, but when you start to get back in, where you're having good young players, you're getting paid a lot of money, you got to make tough choices. But we've got some good young guys who are in here battling for those spots. So, really you look at almost every position. The running back, although we brought in Alfred, you've got some good young backs there. Pollard in particular, that we're excited about. So, to me, this is going to be one of the more exciting training camps to be a part of in terms of seeing how these position battles start to play out.
You mentioned offensive line, and one guy you didn't say in there because you were referring to backups, but Travis Frederick coming back at the center position, and what you have with Looney, those are some really good backups there, but obviously you love to see the progress for Travis, and is he still making the progress that you're hoping for?
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously going to, step lightly there, but at the end of the day, Travis feels like, and we certainly are right there with him, that he's 100%, he's ready to go. But anytime a guy takes has to sit out a year from football, you don't want to rush him into it, especially out here in the pads. But, we got every reason to believe we're going to have the same Travis Frederick that we had from a couple years ago. And, he's a warrior. My hat's off to him. He never blinked last year. He never missed a thing. He was like having a third offensive line coach in terms of working with the young guys, working with Joe Looney, as you said, who stepped up and did an amazing job in his absence. But, I think he's going to be one of the big differences in this team this year is getting him back. And there's no reason to believe that he won't be back 100%.
All right. Well, we know how busy you are. We really appreciate you stopping by with us, and we look forward to talking to you the rest of camp.
Thanks a lot.
All right. That's Stephen Jones. We'll bring it back to you guys.
The Dallas Cowboys will have a new Hall of Famer after this weekend. And coming up, we will discuss what he has meant to this organization and league overall.
This segment was brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. Special Edition, presented by AT&T, was brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. AT&T, more for your thing, that's our thing. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' films and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
But when you realize there's only 326 people in the Hall of Fame, the odds are not very good. And there are so many people out there, but thank goodness they went to this contributors category and it gave us a chance to get in. And I just hope that gives other people that were scouts that came up the same way I did as a chance to get into the Hall of Fame.
Former Vice President of Player Personnel and Scout Gil Brandt is being inducted into the National Football Hall of Fame this weekend after 29 years with the Dallas Cowboys. My first down question, I'm going to start with you, Rick, because you're on the selection committee. From your experience, what makes Brandt deserving of this honor?
Well, I always thought the most important guy in the NFL building, especially in the cap world, is a guy who finds the players. Gil Brandt found the players. He drafted 9 Hall of Famers. He got, and not only drafted them, but where he found them. Rayfield Wright, Bob Hayes, 7th round, Roger Staubach, 10th round, Cole, 11th round. He gave Tom Landry the players to win Super Bowls and get a Boston Cannon.
I tell you what was meaningful for me was he a guy that paid attention to detail. If he liked the player, if his scouts felt wholehearted that this player should be in, he would go to these guys' homes. He would go to, no matter where it was. In the ghetto, the suburbs, it didn't matter. Mr. Brandt was coming to get you, and he came and got me out of Tampa, man. I was with the Tampa Bay Bandits, and he came and got me.
And Nate, you're actually going to camp, so you're going to have to make sure to take lots of pictures and come back and tell us how it was.
Don't be tweeting, baby. Facebook will be rocking. Believe that.
Everyone's got to follow Nate on Twitter to stay up to date. Okay, second down. We have talked so far this offseason about the competition at wide receiver and the depth they have, especially with rookies John Vay Johnson and Jalen Guyton. However, veteran Reggie Davis has really been making a case for himself. Where does he fit into all of this, Nate?
He's a nice route runner. He's smooth. I think he's out of Georgia. Pretty good kid. What I've seen so far on film and what I've talked to other people, he's a guy that's very explosive, catch the ball, can run after catch. But like she said earlier, Jalen Guyton and Javay Johnson, those guys are up and coming, but it's early in camp.
Yeah, I think the 4th, 5th, and 6th receivers better be able to tackle. Because with Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and Randall Cobb, there's not going to be that many balls go around. So I think the backup receivers are going to have to play. Special teams are going to have an impact in coverage.
Third down, linebacker Shawn Lee suffered from a right MCL sprain this week at training camp. Assuming he is healthy and ready to go at the start of the season, Rick, what impact do you foresee him having?
Oh, I love him on the field. Just the problem is he's never on the field. He gets hurt. I mean, he's one of the 2 best playmakers on this defense, he and Jeff Heath. When he's on the field, he's a difference maker, but he can't stay on the field. So I think they'll limit his snaps. And the 20, 25 snaps he plays, he'll have an impact.
You may not see him during the preseason, but where you will know that he's having effect, it will be in the room, in the scouting room when they're watching film and doing things like that. That's where he'll have his big impact. Joe Thomas, be ready to play.
The Cowboys had 8 of the NFL's top 100 players this season. Fourth down, Nate, who do you expect is going to have a great season and be on that list next year?
Awuzie. I can't pronounce your first name clearly. Chidobe Awuzie is the guy. He's a playmaker. Rick has talked about him since he was a rookie. He is the type of guy that can make an impact, and he will benefit from Coach Rashad coaching, and he will make up the top 100 next year.
I think if the Cowboys get where they want to go this year, there's two guys that have a real chance of getting back in that group. It's Dak Prescott and Travis Frederick. That would give you 10. If there's a newcomer, I agree with Nate. Awuzie is a playmaker in a defensive secondary that needs plays.
There's lots more Cowboys talk I'm sure will be coming throughout the rest of training camp, and you can stay up to date on everything by downloading the mobile app and following DallasCowboys.com, where the blue and white scrimmage will be happening and being streamed this Sunday at 4:30 Pacific time. That's going to do it for us on Special Edition this week. For Goose, Nate, myself, Danny Surek, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.